Hi guys, in this tutorial I'm basically going to show you how to achieve uh, this twisted torus shape with interwoven Voronoi holes. Um, Looks rather complex, but it's, as you're going to see, it's very easy to achieve. I'm using 3ds Max 2012. You'll be able to follow along as long as you have 3ds Max 2010 or higher. This isn't going to require any additional plugins or add-ons, but you will need access to the graphite modeling ribbon. Alright, so this is the object we're looking to get. Um, this could be something perhaps useful for jewelry modeling, jewelry and like a bracelet or an earring, some sort of pendant. So I'll show you how to get to this. Let's start now. All right, so let me reset the scene here. First thing we're going to do is bring up our extended primitives, and we're going to insert a torus knot into the scene. Now you'll notice my scene is set to model in centimeters, but I'm not going to follow any strict real-world modeling in real-world units here. I'm just going to arbitrarily show you the steps needed to create this object, and if you wanted to follow along and do it later on in real-world units, you can worry about the measurements and stuff at that point, but for speed's sake, we're not going to worry about that here. Okay, so I'm bringing a torus knot into the scene, but while this probably looks familiar to most Max users, we're going to switch it from the base knot version to the circle version. Alright, so just click on the circle tab there, and this is what you'll get. And we'll adjust the radius a little bit here on both parts, and we're going to eyeball it to it's about the thickness that we want. Alright, so I'm thinking that looks pretty good right there. Okay, and we're going to change the number of sides to 6, and we're going to twist it 3 times, so 3 twist revolutions. Alright, and this is what you should end up with. Okay, let me just change our let me see here. Let me just change our material really quickly on this object so you can better see it in the viewport. All right, so here we are. Again, it's just a 6-sided torus circle, and we've set it to 3 twist revolutions. All right. Now at this point we're done with the parametrics of the model, so you could go ahead and collapse that to an editable poly. Alright, and then we'll switch to face mode here, and what we're going to do to start off is just to select every other face loop around the object, so every other strip around the object of faces, and go ahead and delete those. Alright, so what we're left with now are just 3 interwoven strips of polygons. Okay, and the next step is to go ahead and select all of those, alright, while still in face mode, and we're going to create like a border edge around all of these very quickly by just implementing the inset tool. We'll keep it set to group. Alright, and I'm just going to eyeball it at this point. That looks about good. So that's about the thickness I want the edges between the Voronoi holes. Alright, so that's where we'll go here, and I'll just accept that. Okay, now with the faces still selected, we'll go ahead and detach, and we're going to detach it as a totally separate object. Alright, so not as a clone, not as an element, as a new object entirely. Alright, and then we'll go ahead and exit face mode, And as you can see at this point now, we have two completely separate objects in the scene, which is what we want at this point. All right, so now what we're going to do is we'll select our new object here, and we'll enter into edge mode. All right, and we need to build some more resolution in this object. So what we'll do, instead of subdividing it and doing it that way, we're just going to select select an edge, and we'll go ahead and ring that selection, and we'll go and select another edge on the other strip and ring it, and then finally on the third one do the same. So we've ringed all of those interior edges. All right, and we'll go ahead and then connect with 3 segments. Okay, so now this is the result of that. All right, and so the next step is to go ahead into the graphite modeling ribbon, generate topology, and we're going to use the Hive procedural topology. Okay, this one up here in the right-hand, top right-hand corner there. All right, called Hive. And if you mouse over it, you'll see that it says it requires one edge to be selected, and that is so that it could evaluate the direction of edge flow and give you a result based on that. So let's select one of these vertical edges. All right, on this band of faces, and click Hive. And as you can see, it has transformed those edges into a hive pattern. Okay, but this isn't the direction we want to go. Okay, I mean, maybe you'll want to experiment with this later, but for now, this is not the direction we want to go. So undo that and select one of the horizontal edges and click Hive. And this is actually more like the pattern we want to achieve here. Okay, so let's do that with all 3 of these strips. So select another horizontal edge on the second strip and click on the procedural topology, and then again on the third one. All right, so we have all 3 of them now converted to that Hive topology. All right, and we're now done with that panel, so we can close it out. Okay, and we can go into face mode, and with all of the faces selected, we're going to do another inset operation, except this time we will we'll inset by polygon. All right, so let me zoom in here just slightly so that you can see. We're just going to inset by polygon very slightly to create the width of our holes in there. So just inset slightly, ever so slightly, and accept that. All right, so then you're left with this, and go ahead and delete the interior faces, leaving us with a grid-like structure here. Okay, of that hive topology. All right, so we have our grid here of hexagons. Okay, so this is the result so far. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and reattach the second object and combine them. So go ahead and click on attach, and then just touch the second object, and that's it. Now these are both attached as one object, and we can verify that just by translating it. It translates as one object. However, it's not it's not welded together. There's still overlapping vertices at the borders of each object. This hasn't welded them yet. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is just apply a vertex weld. And when you first apply it, depending on the threshold, you might get a funky result like this, where all of your edges are suddenly welded together and you have holes in it and everything. Don't worry about that. It's just that we have to reduce the threshold slightly. All right, so reduce the threshold until you see a clean result here. Now, if we went all the way down to 0, it would not do any welding. Okay, 0 is no tolerance. Okay, so none of the overlapping vertices would be welded here. However, we're going to increase that slightly. All right, now we've increased it and we see that we're having a proximity weld happen here on vertices we do not want it to occur. So once that occurs, we will back it off a couple steps, and this is probably fine to have all of the overlapping vertices should now be welded together as expected. Okay, and once you've done that, you can go ahead and just collapse that. All right, now we have a solid object, or actually it's not a manifold object yet. This is a solid surface. Both of these are attached now, but it's still a one-sided. I think that's a good thickness right there. Okay, so you can go a little more or less. It's just personal preference, but you want to have some thickness to it. All right, so that looks good to me. All right, now at this point, there's no reason to keep the shell modifier parametric either, so we'll go ahead and collapse that down. And once you do that, it converts it automatically to an editable mesh. We'll bring back our editable poly just by converting it back. Okay, so now we're back to continue some operations here. All right, so now the next step before we go ahead and subdivide is and this is an interesting object as it is. I mean, you could just play around with it from this point if you wanted to, bevel some of these edges, and you can call it a day, and it would be an interesting object. But we want to take it a little further. So what we're going to do here is connect. We're going to make an interior portion here and connect it so that it will be a solid object. And so to do that, what we'll do is go into face mode, and we'll select all of these faces. All right, and then we'll select all of these faces, and I think we'll perform a bridge operation there. All right, and then we'll do the same thing with the next set of the next set that make up the hopes, that make up the next flow of edges here. We'll just loop select those two edges and bridge them, and then finally this last one and bridge them. Okay, so now we have a solid object with these holes, and once we subdivide it, all right, and we'll use 2 iterations, you could see the result. And there's our object that we were looking for. All right, and this could be, like I said, this could be a, this could be a bracelet. This could be, we can create a chain and make it some kind of pendant or an earring. And you can get more experimental with this on your own if you want to. When instead of doing the bridge on all of the faces going around the loops, you could dot select them and just create a bridge between every other face. That would be interesting. a whole variety of things you can do here. You can leave it on, you don't have to subdivide it if you want to maintain the hexagonal grid faces in there, or openings, I should say. Okay, but I kind of like and we'll subdivide it twice. I kind of like that Voronoi whole structure, that organic look to it. So that's why I'm doing it that way with the turbo smooth modifier. Okay, so that's how to get this shape, and it's painless. It's fairly easy. I mean, once you get the technique down, you can do this in probably under 4 minutes easily. I mean, you can get through it very fast, and so it's just fun to experiment with the different techniques here, using some standard primitives that come with the package, and just some of the graphite tools. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'm going to make a few more like this, experimenting with some different shapes that that look complex but are quite easy to achieve once you know the techniques behind them. So, all right. Thanks again for joining, and I look forward to sharing more videos with you. See you next time.